choosing a ceramic coating, a 1 versus 5 year. What should I do, right? It's a common question. Our 1 year is called Uno, our 5 year is called Sparta. There's a lot of differences, okay? There's also a lot of misconceptions about coatings and different things. So we're just sat down here and make it really easy to have a conversation about the difference in a 1 year and a 5 year. Obviously, durability. It's the first thing. But there's some chemistry things that we need to talk about. Marty, why don't you tell me 1 year coating versus 5 year coating, what's the major difference?
Oh, like you said, everybody would know off the bat, they do want to know that, and they do want to go, hey, is it just the longevity? Is it just that one lasts 1 year, one lasts 5 years? Hey, can I just put it on and it lasts 1 year or 5 years? Biggest difference for me when I think of 1 year and 5 year, I think of application. That's what I think of. Like the 1 year application versus the 5 year application. Was it 1 year? I'm in it. I'm in it all day long. Right? 45 minutes and I'm out. So I joke about in it all day long. Sparta though, 5 year, you might spend a little bit more time applying it, right? But when I think of 1 and 5 year, the big difference for me is the application. That 1 year application is much more simple.
Yeah, and let's talk about chemistry here. And it's one of the things that we need to kind of air out. You're seeing a lot of different advertisements. You're seeing you can spray this on, it'll fix all your problems to go away. First of all, coating should come in a glass or a metal bottle. Okay? If it's not in a glass or a metal bottle, it's not a ceramic coating. And there's a real easy way. Solvents eat through 99.9% of the plastic that you see people using, right?
Or they would get a plastic bottle that would just be almost fragile and it'd be like where you can, and then people don't ever send those out. They would never, they'd get beat up on, hey, your bottle's messed up, or hey, your bottle's messed up.
Yeah, and you'd get leaking, it would start to eat away at the seams of the bottle. Plastic is just not something that you see, you would need such industrial grade plastic, it wouldn't be economical, okay? So 1 year and 5 year, here's the biggest difference for me. We call it active or solids in the coating, right? A 1 year is going to have a lower amount of solids than a 5 year. And solids are basically, and we kind of internally use the word active ingredient most of the times because that's what you want left behind. So ceramic coatings have solvents, some have different resins, some have SiO2, TiO2, but the things you want on your paint are those active ingredients, are those solids. So 1 year, the reason it's easier to work with is because it's a lower solid count than a 5 year. And it should be, right? It makes it easy. Most you DIYers every DIYer could use Uno. This is easier to apply than wax, right?
Let's come back there to a second where we were talking about bottles and we were talking about sprays in 1 year. Let's come back to that for a second. Because when I do, let's say if people are watching, let's say they do get a bottle and it says 1 year, says 2 year, right? We've seen that. We've seen sprays that they can
put anything.
Put anything. Got it. This isn't to go after them, so please don't misunderstand. It's more for your information, for your peace of mind. When you're trying to evaluate, do I take a 1 year? What is a 1 year coating? Can I get a 1 year coating in a plastic bottle spray?
That smells like pineapple, that has fragrance? The answer is no, right? So one of the things that we really believe in is that if you go into the HyperClean Specialist group on Facebook, you'll see people ranting and raving about the longevity of Uno. So we have a belief system building our products that under promise, over deliver. Our 1 year probably realistically is 18 to 24 month coating that we label a 1 year because I want it to last. I know not everybody's going to maintain it perfectly and do all the right things, and most of you are, some of you aren't. And I want to feel good about putting this on my car.
That hashtag overbuilt, a lot of it came from.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, overbuilt wasn't our idea. No. It came from the community around us. And one of the things that I want people to realize is there was a troubling thing when I was an installer for my last company before I became an owner, where they have a coating that says 3 to 5 years. I want everybody to really think about this. In what world can I say, I can take this bottle and go, this is my 3 year all the way to my 5 year coating without putting some onus on you, the owner? meaning you got to follow all these rules, you got to do all these things, you got to use all these toppers, you got to, visit your detailer so often. And I expressed that to them, and I said, I don't believe in that. Are you guys going to make a change? Are you going to build a 3-year and a 5-year? No, and that's their decision. But as a car owner myself, as all of us are, and I care about my stuff, one of the things that I want to put out there is, with us, you have a 1, 2, a 3, and a 5-year. It's not overkill. Those products fit somebody, but to get a 2-year, I have a certain level of active ingredient. To get a 3-year, I have a certain level of active ingredient. To get a 5-year, I have a certain level of solids, active ingredient in the formula. How can it be the same solids in your 3-year as your 5-year? Well, it really can't. And I really, Marty, I don't know how you feel. I hate all the confusion in the market, especially for those that just want to care for their cars.
It's tough. It's tough because we've shared the story. It's not something we'd like to publicly talk about too much, but the reason why it's such a headache and such troublesome is because, listen, we've used them. We've used some stuff, and we've used it, and we go, ugh.
Yep.
Like it didn't even make it through a cleanse wash, what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
The reason why we know is cleanse and the power of cleanse is the reason why we know that a lot of these sprays that are marketed, the reason why we know is, hey, you can take cleanse and it'll wash off.
Yeah, and we have spray sealants, right? Those aren't bad products.
No.
They're a product specific to doing something.
Yes.
And so when we know that a lot of you are typing in trying to find out what are the difference between a 1-year and a 5-year. Well, the difference is the solids, the active ingredient, right? And when something's water-based, which is what you see in 99.9% of bottles that are plastic with a trigger on them, it's a spray sealant. And those are awesome.
They're great.
We have Slick, we have Spray Coat, we have a spray and rinse product.
And we will probably come out. What's kind of on our radar is that spray sealant that's so popular.
Yeah, and again, we don't have to confuse all these things, but we have. And so it's on us to the people that follow us to say, look, a 1-year is easier to apply. I would say most 5 years of this level, I wouldn't want a DIYer messing with it. And if I were in my garage, I wouldn't want to mess with it if I was just trying to take care of my car. Our 1, 2, and 3-year, all of you guys it'd be a great thing to build up. Start at Uno, then do Dose on your next car, and then do Trey on your next car. Would I ever jump to Sparta? I see a lot of conversation about this as well. Coatings shouldn't be pro only, and everyone knows how to apply them. Well, that's not true. We've seen a lot of horror stories with 5-year coatings. Other companies have made good coatings in our life, and I watched $1.2 million worth of cars get damaged by a manufacturer selling to a pro and not monitoring them. So now we're saying that a robust 5 year is just available to everyone. I just wouldn't mess with it if I was a DIYer. And especially if somebody told me this coating's 3 to 5 years, I would never buy that coating because something's off in the marketing and the messaging and probably in the chemistry.
So completely with you, right? If I'm an enthusiast, a DIY guy, if I'm somebody that likes to care for my own vehicle, don't mind paying somebody, but hey, listen, it's my baby. It's what I like to do. Plenty of people use it for their therapy in a sense. It's something they just enjoy doing. I get it. Okay. But there's also this other side of the market, not just the DIY or the enthusiast. There is the professional. Now, there's a lot of pros that think that they should just carry a 5 year, right? They'll message into us. We'll hear from us. They just think that, hey, I need to have it in case, right? Hey, maybe somebody's going to want it. I want to stop us talk about that for just a second. There's a reason why we have made, listen, you want to go to talk about Sparta, you want to be in, you want to wonder if you could do it. We have a podcast, Pints Polishing Podcast. We have videos where we go over Sparta. We go over our 5 year and what you would need to do to be approved. So go back into the archives, go back and listen to that, and then go to HyperCleanStore.com. There's a place on the Sparta page that you'll click and you'll fill out a form, and then one of us will call you and we'll have a discussion if if you almost, in a sense, make the first wave.
Yeah.
Because once you fill out that form, you are going to get looked at. And that first wave is what?
How many Trey installs have you done, which is our 3-year? We like to see a fair amount of those. Have you kind of gradually, or do you use all of our coating lineup working up to Sparta? If you're a beginning detailer, there's nothing better than a 1, 2, and 3-year package system just to get your start. Okay? Then when you get some time under your belt, you can go 1, 3, and 5. Right? Some people never leave the 2-year behind. I mean, we have plenty of people that professional shops that do a lot of 2 years. But the first wave is, are you purchasing, right? And showing us that you install consistently a product like Trey. Then we look at social media. You know, we look at your work. We look at how you carry yourself. We look at a lot of different things.
The carry yourself is a big one. And most of the people that we talk to, that we say that, they appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
And they appreciate how rare it is that people will look at your social media and examine. No, it's not the before and afters and the 50-50s. It's not that.
No.
It really is how you present yourself, your professionalism.
Yeah. And again, you know, consumers out there watching this, I think you only benefit when a company does this. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I started installing coatings in 2010. From 2010 to about 2015, 2016, the consumer was really protected by companies. They never knew it, but companies were very, very stringent on who can get their coating. And believe it or not, coating companies weren't doing that to like control the market. Early coatings could cause a lot of damage. I mean, we had to sand entire cars from other shops that they did such incredibly bad work. And this was really tough. Everything advances, but one of the things is the consumer's protected by a company doing it like we are, because we're saying the highest level coating is only going to the highest level people. And I mean people. I'm not looking that you have the prettiest shop or that you dress up your social media. I care that you're going to deliver for your customers. You care about quality products. Folks, we have a lot of people that are calling us that are with companies that have 10-year lifetime coatings, and they're admitting to us they don't work. They're saying these coatings don't work.
That's the brutal part.
And then we go through the interview process and they're like, well, it's cheap, so I'll stay with them. They didn't get access to Sparta, obviously. And you shouldn't want them to. You shouldn't want them to have access to a 10-year coating that doesn't work. You shouldn't want them to have access to coatings that are only based on a warranty, not based on the coating itself. So I understand the confusion, but I'll say this. Very few people really need a 5-year on their car. We run a fairly big operation. Most customers are keeping their car about 3 years that really detail and keep their cars nice, because you always want something new. Right? I want the new BMW 7 Series. I want the new SUV. I want the new Lambo. I want the new Porsche. That's just how we're built as car people. So a 5-year doesn't really benefit that many of you out there watching this, because if you are honest, most of you have a 2-year lease, a 3-year lease, or you constantly, if you look back at the last 10 years with your cars, you've kept them 2 years. I have an extra car, what I call my weekend car. This is the longest I've had one in probably my lifetime, and it's going to be 2 years in July. Most of my stuff was under 1 year of ownership. Now, I have a shop, I put PPF on it, I can do those things as value adds, but to me, 1, 2, and 3 year, especially DIYers, you don't need a 5-year. You're going to want to mess with your car before that anyway. So again, if you're uncomfortable with ceramic coatings, you start with Uno. Very easy application process, easier than most wax or wipe-on sealants or whatever. Don't worry about this, right? Go from Uno, next car do Dos, your next car do Trey. And we hear this from all of our installers all the time. Trey is probably more robust than most companies' 5-year.
We do hear that a lot, and it is interesting, right?
Yeah.
You do kind of go, strange that people would do that. You know, it is what it is, right? People choose their marketing, choose their business models, however. I wonder, too, if it's a lot of times, hey, you know, that's just the easy way to go.
Yeah.
And fair enough, all good. When I think easy way to go, I say, let's just do Uno, right? Like, no reason to go and say or go, like, Why? Just do Uno.
Yeah.
Once a year, it's fine.
So we have this Mercedes behind us. Let's talk about Uno versus Sparta on this. Going to be a college kid. Mm-hmm. Not going to care for the car that well. I mean, most college kids don't. And probably every time it comes back for break, the family's going to ask you, hey, can you get this car back right? Well, what if that's 4 or 5, 6 months before the last wash? 5 years, to make something last 5 years, you need to be on your maintenance. Anybody telling you differently is lying about their product.
Nick, wait a second. Did you just say that?
What?
Out loud. Somebody would lie?
Yeah, I mean, you guys got to maintain it. But the good thing about Uno...
Well, I'm joking. But hold on. I do want to come back to that. Like, I was making a joke. But there is this theory that I can set it and forget it.
Yeah.
That I can't put a 5-year coating on, and I don't really have to worry about it. We joke about the people that used to hit on cars and do all this stuff. Really, the more difficult part that's come into ceramic coatings, where people wonder the market of ceramic coatings has gone down, or you guys are killing the market. There's plenty of people that say that. It's not the hitting of the cars and the lighters and all that. To me, it's this idea that I can put a product on and never have to do anything to my car.
we see this in the PPF world. We do PPF at my shop, and we see so many people come in 18 to 24 months into their PPF being installed at another shop, and it's just wrecked. The edges are lifting, this and that, and they think it's a bad install. And there's plenty of times we looked at it and go, that's not a bad install. They went through the car wash with the brushes, because the PPF shop never really did a good job giving them an option of how to maintain that. Or they didn't even talk about it at all. They did sell it as set it and forget it. Paint protection film is a layer of film, higher protection than a 5-year coating. We're not going to, lie about that. PPF's pretty robust. And if you take care of it, it's going to last 5, 6, 7 years. I know people say 10, but trust me, you're going to take it off before that. And one of the things
I don't know if I've seen anybody leave PPF on for 10
Well,
years.
I've seen it. It just cracks all over the place. So, again, they just weren't told. Nothing set it and forget it. Now, the good thing about a 1 year is this thing's going to get to 1 year. Okay? I mean, you can beat up on this pretty hard and still know that you have protection there. Is your car going to look the best it can? No. Right? But if you maintain it, is it going to? The answer is yes. When you're talking about trying to get something the last 5 years, maintenance becomes more important, because you're talking about 5 years. Right? You're talking about, I want this thing to work perfectly for 5 years.
So the real lifespan of ceramic coating and what to expect is something that we have to start talking about. Like, realistic expectation happens when there's this certain word, Nick. That word is maintenance.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Realistic expectations, we could go after people and say, how dare you say, put it, we could. But realistic expectations, it doesn't matter what number somebody puts at a coating last, realistic expectations and what you should expect from either a 1-year coating to a 5-year coating. Hey, if I'm looking at 1-year coating, 5-year coating, some people are even going to go, hey, should I just hire a pro to install it, or should I do it myself? Either way, it all comes down to you hire somebody, you do it yourself, you pick a 1-year, you pick something higher. It all boils down to all of it, straight down to how are you going to maintain it? And that's not a once-a-year maintenance.
No.
It's great that people say, hey, come back in once a year. Okay, got to be doing stuff more often than once a year. It doesn't matter who's coating, doesn't matter what level, what year. If I choose to put it on or I pay somebody to put it on, that car owner still has to maintain the car.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest topics that has been left out for 15 years, going on 15 years with ceramic coatings, is that we just don't talk about it, right? And for all of you making the decision or just getting in, or even those that have had struggles with coatings, right? You don't know why you've had problems with them. What's your maintenance schedule? How often are you maintaining your car? What are you maintaining your car with?
There you go. So if we're going to think maintain my car, some people would go, I run it through the car wash.
Yeah. And again, I'm not going to be somebody that sits here and bashes dealerships and bashes car washes. They have a place for people. I would assume most people watching us are trying to get educated on how to take care of their car better, how to do it better, how to make it look better, how to make it maintenance easier. One of the biggest selling points of coatings is you can really wash your car pretty darn quick.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's
Absolutely.
a lot more enjoyable. You can do a lot more. It's much easier to deal with. It stays cleaner a little bit longer. Like, again, does it protect your investment? Absolutely. But the other stuff is kind of why, you know, the extra gloss and how easy it is to, I mean, there's plenty of people that'll keep their cars so well, they can spray on some soap, rinse it off, because they have deionized water, just blow it off and they're gone and the car looks good for another 2 weeks. Okay? I mean, that's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Now, there's some people that think that they're one of those, and so they'll go out and they'll just spray their car off, and they'll think, hey,
Yeah.
I've sprayed it off, I'm good.
Yeah, no, deionized water specifically, which means
And getting some chemical. You
Yeah.
also got chemical out there.
chemical,
There's
yeah.
people that believe that you can just go and rinse, power wash, and everything just falls off.
But in seriousness, that's better than what some people do. Some people just leave the grime on there, and they don't know why the coating's having such a problem, right? And so I say this, and I'm glad you brought it up. Realistically, a product like Uno's not going to have a problem getting to a year, okay? Even if you beat it to hell. The problem when you step up to 3 and 5 years is you're trying to get this coating to perform at its elite level for a very long time. 36 months, 48 months, 60 months is a long time.
It's a long time.
It's a lot of wear and tear. It's a lot of road time. Again, if it's a garage queen, that's a different conversation. And we take care of plenty of those where the coating's probably never going to be in bad shape and never going to come off that car, right? Because it hardly sees sunlight. Now, the thing that I want to say is that's why Uno fits a lot of people getting their start. That's why Dose fits a lot of people. 12 to 24 months is a pretty easy expectation to meet. The minute you start to say, I want something to perform perfectly for 5 years, there's going to have to be some care involved and some understanding that it's not because the coating is bad or the coating is weak. It's because you're trying to get something to last 5 years, 60, 70, 80,000 miles, and it's taking a beating, which it's supposed to. But when it starts taking a beating, it starts to deteriorate. Same with PPF, same with windshield film. And so the realistic expectations are, if I take some semblance of pride in my car and I wash it 1 to 2 times a month, you're not going to have a problem with Sparta, right? You're not. You're just not. It's going to last 5 years. You're going to have a great experience. If you wash your car once a year, you're going to have a problem with any coating. It's just not built that way. And I'm sorry that it's been sold that way. It'll be on your paint, but your paint won't look the way you want. It won't be as easy to wash. It'll get contaminated. Then you'll have to clay it. Then you're talking about having to maybe take a polisher to it. 5 years is a very long time. So when you hear claims about 10-year coatings, lifetime coatings, look, man, think about really how long that's longer than a presidential term. 5 years. I mean, it's a long time. So that's where we want to, I'm glad you brought up the maintenance and what people can realistically expect out of a ceramic coating.
Yeah, and reiterate, as you said, I just want to make sure, a wash isn't a spray off. So washing a couple times a month isn't a spray off. It's a wash.
And we have plenty of videos on that.
Absolutely, and we'll go over even more, right? How to properly wash and maintain your car so that you have the best ownership, whether that's for your vehicle or the coating that you've put on.
Yeah.
Oh.